You wake up. The room is exactly as you left it, but you cannot move, not a finger, not a breath deeper than a shallow gasp. And standing at the foot of your bed, or crouching on your chest, is something that should not exist. You are completely awake, you know it. And whatever that thing is, it knows you can see it. This is not a ghost story someone invented around a fire. Millions of people alive right now have felt exactly this. And the terrifying part is not just the experience itself. The terrifying part is that people have been describing the exact same visitor in the exact same way on every continent for at least 1,000 years. Meet the Night Hag. The name itself tells you something. Before the word nightmare meant any bad dream, it meant this specific thing, a creature that rode sleepers in the night, pinning them down, stealing their breath. The Old English word mare referred to a goblin or evil spirit that suffocated people while they slept. That word is still sitting inside nightmare today, hiding in plain sight, and most people walk past it every morning without noticing. But that is not the strangest part. Go to Newfoundland, Canada. Fishing communities there have passed down stories of the Old Hag for generations, a crushing presence that sits on you in the night and will not let you scream. Cross the Atlantic to Scandinavia, and you find the mare, an almost identical creature tied to identical symptoms, recorded in texts going back centuries. Now fly to Japan. The phenomenon there is called kanashibari, which translates roughly as bound in iron. Bound in iron. The feeling of being held so completely still, you might as well be locked in metal. That phrase was documented in Japanese folklore well before modern medicine had a clinical name for any of this. Keep moving. Brazil. There is the Pisadeira, a tall, thin woman with long fingernails who waits on rooftops and descends to walk on the chests of people who sleep on a full stomach. In parts of the Caribbean and West African tradition, the spirit is sometimes called a hag or a witch who slips out of her own skin at night to ride strangers. In ancient Mesopotamia, a demon called Lilitu was described pressing down on sleeping people. The descriptions stretch back to some of the oldest written records humans have left behind. Same crushing weight, same paralysis, same dark shape. Every culture, every century, every continent. Science has a name for the underlying mechanism. During REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming happens, the brain sends a signal that essentially switches off voluntary muscle movement. Your body goes still so you do not act out your dreams and hurt yourself. That is called rematonia, and it is real, it is well documented, and it is happening to you right now on some level every single night. But sometimes as a person drifts toward waking, the dreaming brain and the waking brain briefly overlap. The muscle paralysis has not fully lifted. The dream-generating parts of the brain are still active. And for a window that can last anywhere from a few seconds to 20 terrifying minutes, a person lies completely awake, completely frozen, and their brain is still generating imagery. That is when the visitor appears. Researchers who study this, including work published by sleep scientist David J. Hufford in his 1982 book, The Terror That Comes in the Night, found something that genuinely unsettled the scientific community. People who had never heard of sleep paralysis folklore, people with no cultural exposure to the night hag concept at all, still described the same core experience: the pressure on the chest, the sense of a malevolent presence, the inability to move or call for help. Hufford argued this was important evidence that the experience itself generates the belief, not the other way around. The folklore did not create the hallucination. The hallucination created the folklore. In culture after culture, people felt something real, and then they built a story around it to explain what they could not explain. But here is where it gets complicated again. Rematonia explains the paralysis. It explains the hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations. the vivid sensory experiences that flicker at the edge of sleep and waking. It explains probably the dark shape, the weight on the chest, even the electric dread that floods the body in those moments. Neuroscience can map the brain regions involved. Sleep labs have recorded it happening. What it cannot fully explain is why so many people, without any contact with each other, without any shared culture, all see the same shape. Not a random shape, not a swirling light. A figure, often a dark one, often with a hat, a detail so common it has its own name in modern sleep paralysis communities. The Hat Man, a tall shadow figure in a wide-brimmed hat reported by people from Alabama to Australia who have never compared notes. Is that the brain defaulting to a human silhouette because human silhouettes are what we are wired to fear? Almost certainly that is part of it. Is there something else? That question has not been closed. Officially, the leading scientific explanation is rematonia, combined with hypnagogic hallucination and threat detection pathways firing in an unusual state of consciousness. That is the current best answer, and it is a serious, well-supported one. But the Night Hag does not care about best answers. She has been sitting on chess since before any of us had the words to describe her. She will be there tonight for someone, somewhere, in a room just like yours. If you have ever woken up and could not move, you already know this is not a story. And if you have not yet, sleep tight. Subscribe to Maturant Legends and hit like if this kept you up because the next story is already waiting in the dark.